Hello, my lovelies. Today, we're talking about ways to improve communication in our relationships and create a happier, more harmonious life with our spouses, life partners, significant others, and more. For those who are new to the podcast, I'm Karen Bemis, your host, and today we're diving into a juicy topic that can truly change your life in every way. It certainly changed mine. So get ready to revolutionize the way you communicate with your partner and perhaps everyone else in your life. Also, if anything here resonates, be sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast player, and I've included the links to all the places this podcast is shared in the show notes. Also, for those who are new to the podcast, when I talk about personalities, communication, and relationships, I use the DISC personality model of behavior and refer to people as D or driven, I or inspired, S or supportive, and C or cautious. You can find links to personality assessments in the show notes as well, but it's important to note that each of these personality types has unique characteristics when it comes to their communication style. So how can understanding these personality types help you communicate better with your partner? What are these secrets? Well, imagine you're having a discussion with your partner about an important decision. You present your ideas in a direct and assertive manner because you're a driven personality type. But guess what? Your spouse is a supportive personality type who prefers a more calm and collaborative approach. You give the information and you want a quick answer. They need some time to think things over and see how your ideas feel to them. Can you see the potential for miscommunication and frustration here? That's what we're going to dive into so that you can bridge the communication gaps that often happen in partnerships, because here's what I found out about couples and personality types. Very often, we're attracted to someone who shares one of our personality types, which helps us to bond through shared values. But because we're all blends of all four personality types with varying degrees of intensity, we often end up with people who share one personality type and then have an opposite personality type in their makeup. And when we're in balance, that's a really good thing. When we're out of balance, that's where a good deal of conflict happens. So, unless you're both D types, because y'all like to just create some conflict for fun, it can be a real problem. So, we're going to start kind of right there with the D personality. Now, those of you with a D personality, you know you love a little bit of conflict and stirring the pot. And if you have a worthy opponent, all the better. I know couples who love to spar and fuss and what I would call fight and get really passionate about holding their ground and making their point. And they might yell and scream at one another. And in the end, the makeup portion of the confrontation is as passionate as the confrontation itself. And if that works for them, so be it. D personalities love it when people are direct and to the point. They focus on results. They take charge of most situations and thrive on getting things done efficiently. When other personalities communicate with them, here's where things can go awry. If you're an I personality, you love connecting and telling stories, and you can take entirely too long for the D personality to get to the point. The D person may enjoy your stories at times, but if they have a decision to make or need your input so that they can make a decision themselves, the more succinct you can be with your story, the better. They aren't looking to connect like you are. They're merely looking for quick data, and if you ramble on, they're likely to stop you and ask you to just get to the point. If you're a D person looking for a quick answer from an I person, tell them that up front. Tell them you don't have time for a conversation at the moment and need a quick answer from them. If possible, give them a yes or no question or ask them to answer in 100 words or less. That may sound ridiculous to you because you tend to be direct and do that naturally, but asking the inspired person to respond in 100 words or less is a great clue for them that you're in a hurry and you need their best quick answer. If you're an S personality, it's in your nature to be supportive, but you tend to speak indirectly and help the other person infer what you mean. That annoys a driven person at best and infuriates them at worst. It's often why the D personality appears mean to the S personality, because the driven person's directness can be jarring for the sweet and unassuming supportive personality. So if you're an S person dealing with a driven person, do your best to be direct when answering their question. I know that isn't always an easy task, but trust me, for you, it's better than dealing with a frustrated outburst from a driven person because they're not sure what you want from them. If you're a D person dealing with a supportive personality, ask questions that require direct answers. Asking an S personality what they think about something without giving them some type of parameter of what you want in the answer can be anxiety inducing for the S personality. What do I mean by that? Let's say you want to paint a room and you need to get input from the S personality about what their color preference is. They will not tell you without a reference. So here's a great way to approach it, okay? Hey, supportive person, we need to paint the conference room. So far, the colors dark gray, white, and light blue have been suggested. Which two of those would you think would work best? Or do you have another suggestion? When they give their answer, you can ask them why they chose those colors, and they will probably have some reason. But by limiting the choices, you hone in on their answer without pressuring them. With the C personality, dealing with the driven personality, you love your facts and deep dives. And if you start sharing your vast knowledge with a driven person when they want a quick answer, it's going to agitate them. If you're a D person dealing with a fact-loving, cautious personality, like with the I personality, you fare better by laying out the parameters in the beginning. Using the same scenario with the paint, a cautious person may actually know the reasons for choosing certain colors for certain situations, and it could be quite valuable information to have. They may know that choosing light blue over dark gray could have a different effect on the people in the room because at some point, the C person has done a deep dive into color theory and knows more about colors than you would ever want to know in a lifetime. So what do? Use a combination of the S and I strategies. First, let the cautious person know that you're in a hurry, and while they don't necessarily like to make decisions quickly, you need an answer quickly to the question, but they are welcome to give you the data that they're basing their decision on in an email. That allows you to get a quick answer and allows the C personality the opportunity to expand on the answer. And you might be surprised when you scan the email, because we know you're only going to scan the email, that you get the exact input you need to make a final and informed decision. As the C person dealing with the D person, do try to keep your responses succinct and offer to provide more detail at a later time or in written form. And if it is in written form, make the information as succinct as you can as well, especially because it's the D personality. Bullet points are your friend. And if you had to print it, make sure it's less than 1 page if you want the D person to actually consider everything that you share. That's not to say that we base all of our communication on how the driven person prefers things, but it does provide ways to communicate better with those people. And we'll have even more tips for each personality as we move forward. So let's move forward to the I personality. I personalities enjoy social interaction, love to express themselves, and are natural storytellers. When they have space to do that, they thrive. When you engage with those stories, it gives them life in a way that it does no other. Have you ever heard a comedian talk about the first time they made someone laugh? Or the first time they made an entire audience laugh? It can be intoxicating for them. With the D personality, there are definitely times that the I personality needs to get the quick answer and move on. But if you want to develop a better relationship with the I person, listen to them. Because they tell stories, sometimes I personalities are dismissed as being less intelligent by those who love the facts and data. But I can assure you that just because they cannot access the facts and data, it doesn't mean they're incapable of assimilating and using that data. So beware of underestimating them in that way. If you are an I personality, it's helpful to make notes about where you get your information because there are some people that will not believe you unless you can cite a source. With another I personality, you can chat all day and make no progress. And in some cases, that is perfectly fine. In other cases, you may have to actually separate yourself or use headphones if you're trying to work side by side. One of the things I truly want to do with this podcast is to start doing some interviews. And I know to do that effectively, I have to develop a system for interviewing people that works well for all personality types. And I have to tell you, that is no easy feat, especially as an inspired personality type. I love hearing people's stories, and I have some clients that love to tell their stories. So I want to develop a system to get that information that I need, honor each personality type, and give you, the listener, the best possible listening and or watching experience. So I hope you'll stay tuned to see how that happens, how that unfolds, because that's what I'm currently working on. For the I personality dealing with the S personality type, it's good to stay aware that the I person likes to talk and the S person likes to listen. So if the talking and listening is of mutual benefit, that's great. If the I personality is unbalanced and unaware that the S personality is trying to end the interaction, tension can arise because the S personality doesn't want to hurt your feelings, but they may have someone else that they're trying to address and or appease as well. So if you're an inspired personality, be aware of the amount of time you're spending with an S personality, knowing that they always have others they're trying to serve. And if you're an S personality, as hard as it may be for you, especially in the beginning, let the I personality know that you have to go. And if it's a commitment to another person, the I person will totally understand and they're not going to judge you for it. Also, if you're an I personality, it's helpful with and this is helpful for all personality types, but especially with the S personality, to ask, is this a good time? Or do you have time for a chat/story? Try it and see what happens. I promise you, people are going to be so happy that you took the time to do that, especially if you honor a no. That's a big deal. It's hard for you to say, well, then I'll just tell you quickly. No, if they say, I don't have time, you let it go. When it comes to the inspired and the cautious personalities, this one can be tricky because the I person tends to be a free spirit who loves to go with the flow, where the cautious personality prefers to control the flow with a lovely schedule and few surprises. As those who have been around this podcast for some time know, I have several cautious personality types in my life, which I think is a little prank that God played on me. So I would learn about personality types and why I'm different than other people in my circle. But one day, one of my beloved C people asked me how we were able to have such a good relationship. And my answer was that I lift them up and they keep me grounded. And the truth is that I cannot think of a better way to characterize the way the I and the C personalities can get along. The I person, it helps so much to understand that the C person isn't always being negative. They're wired to think about all the possible scenarios that could happen, good and bad. If they've been raised by people who are grounded and hopeful, they'll be more likely to buy into the I personality's natural optimism. And together, those two personality types can move mountains. If they've been raised by people, if the C personality has been raised by people who taught them to be scared and angry, that relationship may take a little more work. But it's truly worth it if you want to learn and grow from the relationship. Moving on to the supportive personality. You love having calm, harmonious relationships. You are the creators of safe spaces for those you love where people can have respectful dialogue, rest their weary bones, and take a quick time out from the harsh realities of life. In relationships, you love to defer to the driven personality to make decisions. I remember one of my sons saying that his wife, who has S as her primary personality type, would never choose where to go for dinner. So he always had to be the one to make that decision. And although he has a healthy dose of D in his personality type, he felt bad because he was always the one making that decision. And I remember telling him that because of her personality type, his wife truly didn't care. But if he wanted to make sure to include his wife in the decision, he could offer two choices that he might want and ask for her to help him decide between the two. And if she didn't want to decide, then he could make the decision or flip a coin. Either way, problem solved. With the I and the S personalities, as I said before, one likes to talk and one likes to listen. And that can be great most of the time. But if you're an S person, you likely struggle with boundaries until you're forced to do something. And then you either become resentful or overwhelmed, and neither is good for you. I will tell you as an I person, if you tell me you have about 15 minutes, we're probably going to talk for 20 or more. Because unless there's a hard stop, I'm going to keep going. It's not because I'm disrespectful, it's just the way I'm kind of wired. It is actually kinder with my personality type if you set a boundary so we don't overstep. Because inspired people are not always the best at understanding what I call S speak. What is S speak? It's the hints you drop, expecting the I personality to understand what you're saying. And they don't. So it's so much better to say to an I person, I have 15 minutes to chat and then I have to go. You can insert whatever reason you have to go. And you can say, so do you want to start a timer or should I? That might sound mean to the S personality, but trust me, most inspired personalities would prefer that to hints. And it helps the S person because you get to set a loving boundary that helps both of you. With the supportive and cautious personalities, you're both reserved, so you don't want to make waves. But while the S personality will let things slide to keep the peace, the C personality believes that rules exist for a reason and everyone should follow them, except for the stupid ones. More on that in a bit. But the problem for these two is that when the peace is disturbed, so is the supportive person. And when the rules are broken, so is the cautious person's trust. So whenever you're embarking on a relationship, it's to both of your benefit to discuss your values early in the relationship to see where there might be sticky points. While many of them can be overcome, the C personality will most definitely have things that are non-negotiable. And it's to everyone's benefit to find that out sooner rather than later. That also gives the supportive person the opportunity to make decisions about the relationship without pressure. And that is something that every S person can truly appreciate. Now, moving on to the C personality, who is analytical, detail-oriented, organized, and accurate about nearly everything. You love it when things are well-researched and logical, which is why relationships can sometimes be challenging for you because these other humans can be so emotional, illogical, and unpredictable. When a cautious and driven person are in a relationship, they both bring a task orientation to the table. They can often talk about things logically until the C personality tells the D personality no about something they really, really want. Let's say that the D person wants to move, but the C personality knows they don't have the funds for that. The more impulsive D personality can try to overwhelm the C personality with reasons that have no basis in fact, which will only cause more frustration on both sides as each one digs in their heels. So, a better thing to do would be for the C personality to research the possibilities before any decisions are made. Then you can present that information later when the D personality is in a different frame of mind. The C personality finds comfort in the data, and the driven personality can benefit from the data if it's presented in a direct and succinct way. Even if there's extensive data, it behooves the C personality to make things short and sweet for the D personality. Show them the bottom line. And if they argue, offer to share the deeper dive that led to your conclusion. To other personalities, this may sound like an argument in the making. But trust me, done well, this is like a symphony for the C and D personalities so that they can communicate better because it addresses both of their needs. When it comes to the cautious personality and the I personality, truly this can be a match made in heaven or feel like hell on earth. These two need each other because the C personality loves those data and details. And that is where the I personality is usually less than stellar unless they love the subject they're dealing with. The C personality needs the I personality to let them know when enough is enough and when to move on from research to the decision making process or the design process or the, become creative process. I happen to have this one in my own home and marriage. My husband is so good at research that when he knew he might be needing a car soon, he started gathering information. Mind you, his car lasted for several months after that. So my husband had been looking at what types of cars he wanted and what was available in our area for quite some time. But he was still having a difficult time making that final decision because there's always more data to be had, right? So we went to look at several of them together. We whittled it down to 2 cars, same make and model. One was a year older than the other one and $1,000 less. And the practical side of, C side of my husband was leaning towards the less expensive car. But he kept talking about the other car. So I knew he actually liked that one better. And here's how we resolved that. When I asked my husband what the sticking point was, he said the price. So I asked him if the prices were exactly the same, which would he choose? And he said he would choose the one that was more expensive. Understand, we're a family that gets attached to our vehicles, so we tend to keep them for 10 years or more as long as they're running well. So I said to my husband that if he liked the more expensive one and he planned to keep the car for at least 5 years, that was $200 per year and less than 75 cents a day. Plus the insurance is going to be cheaper. So it was even less than that. With that data, it became an easy decision and one my husband has never regretted. Pretty cool, huh? So then with the C and the S personalities, I've covered that above, but I want to illustrate how this team can actually be a dynamic duo given the right circumstances. I used to work in advertising, and it was a study in personalities before I even knew about personalities. And one of the best stories was about a woman who worked in the billing department. You're going to find a lot of C's in a billing department, trust me. This woman was one of the crankiest people I had ever met. Every time I brought my receipts to her so they could be paid, she would sigh and roll her eyes. The thing is that I got along with everyone else in the billing department. And as someone who worked in the media department, placing ads for our clients and reconciling them so the proper payments could be made, we had a lot of contact with the billing department. For those that don't know, I also have a lot of the supportive personality trait in my personality makeup. So one day, when the woman in the billing department made some comment under her breath about my receipts, I asked her if I was doing something wrong. And she seemed genuinely shocked that I asked. She explained in a rather exasperated way that she had been asking the media department for years to turn in their receipts in a certain way because it was easier for the billing department to do it like that. And they ignored her. I honestly said, "That's it? That's all you want?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And she rolled her eyes again like she honestly didn't believe me, but I started doing it. And you would not believe the transformation in this woman. Yo, what she asked took less than 30 seconds. And it was just a different way of organizing the receipts. But the fact that every time I walked in that woman's office, she smiled instead of scowled meant everything to me. When somebody mentioned that I seemed to be the only person in the media department that she liked, I told them what I was doing with the receipts. And the response was that I was stupid for doing that because we didn't have to. My response to that was that I fully understood that, but it was worth the 30 seconds to me to see that woman smile instead of scowl when I walked in her office. And sometimes it's just that easy, my friends. With 2C personalities, this can be a very interesting dynamic because both people live by a set of rules. But the sticky part comes when the rules are different. It can also be sticky when their blends don't mesh up too. For instance, I know two women who were sometimes the best of friends and sometimes the worst of enemies. And it wasn't until I understood personalities that I figured out why that happened. You see, they're both C personalities with rules for life. And most of their rules were the same. But one had a D in their personality makeup, making them a CD, and the other one had an S in their personality, making them a CS. So when their life rules were violated, one was direct and upfront about it because that's the way she thought it should be. The other preferred to step back, regroup, and let things slide unless it was something major. Neither liked the way the other responded, and it would often end up in an argument and them just not speaking to each other for a while. Then they would make up and resume their friendship. I found that fascinating. But what I learned was that worked for them. They didn't mind being at odds and then becoming friends again later. Once again, it worked for them. So who am I to judge? So, do you see yourself or anyone else that you have a relationship with in this? I'll bet you do. And if you'd like to take your own relationship to the next level, it all starts with a personality assessment. The beauty of the assessment is not to label or limit anyone, but to help you understand yourself and others better to create stronger connections and relationships. All you need to do is go to the Moving Toward Better website, hit that Take Your Assessment button, and after you do, schedule your personalized personality strategy session. This month, if your significant other takes an assessment as well, you can do a 2-for-1 special and bring them to the strategy session for no extra charge. While you're on the website, make sure you join our email community for all the good things to come. Love you, and see you next time. At Moving Toward Better, it's our mission to help you unlock a fantastic life, powered by what's unique and authentically you. To learn how we can help you in your quest, head over to movingtowardbetter.com to check it out or use the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being you, and have a great day. Love you all.